Maria always believed that the scariest moments in life weren't the ones filled with shouting or chaos, but the quiet ones. The ones where a single sentence could change everything. And today, that sentence came from her husband, Daniel. He stood in the kitchen doorway holding a single sheet of paper. No smile, no explanation, just a tight jaw, stiff shoulders, and eyes that refused to meet hers. Just sign his paper, Maria. It's nothing big. Nothing big. Those two words hit her like a cold gust. If it was nothing big, why did Daniel look like he hadn't slept in days? Why was he holding the pen so tightly his knuckles had gone pale? Maria didn't know it yet, but signing that paper would lead her straight into a $52 million storm she never saw coming. Before we dive into this wild story, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And hey, I'd love to know, where are you listening from? Drop a comment below. Back to that moment. Maria slowly wiped her hands on a dish towel and stepped closer. Daniel kept his distance, holding the paper like it was radioactive. "What is this?" she asked. "It's a routine form," he said too quickly. "Legal stuff from work. It needs your signature because of, married filing things." He was rambling. Daniel never rambled. Maria felt a tightness in her chest. After 15 years of marriage, she could read him like a book, and this version of him was sweating through every paragraph. She took the paper. Half the text was dense legal language, clauses, numbers, financial terms she didn't recognize. It wasn't unusual for Daniel's job, but something in her gut twisted like a warning siren. "Why didn't you tell me about this earlier?" she asked. "I didn't want to bother you. It's urgent. They need it today." Urgent, unplanned, suspicious. Maria hesitated. A long, heavy, instinct-driven pause, but eventually signed. She didn't want to be paranoid. Daniel had always handled paperwork. He was the organized one. When she handed the form back, Daniel exhaled like he'd been underwater. He practically bolted toward the front door. "Thanks, really. You just helped more than you know." And with that, he was gone. Maria stared after him, the silence thick and uneasy. Something wasn't right. Something was coming. She just didn't know that what she had signed wasn't routine at all. It was the first domino in a chain leading to a $52 million secret and a betrayal 15 years in the making. Maria didn't sleep that night. Daniel hadn't come home for dinner, claiming he had late meetings. Then he said he was helping a coworker. Then he stopped answering his phone altogether. None of it sounded like Daniel, or at least not the Daniel she thought she knew. By sunrise, she was pacing the living room, replaying yesterday over and over. What was that paper? Why was he so nervous? And why did she feel like she'd signed something she shouldn't have? At 8:12 a.m., someone knocked. Not a friendly, everyday knock. A firm, authoritative, we need to talk kind of knock. Maria's heart stuttered. She peeked through the blinds and froze. Two men in dark suits stood on her porch. Not police, not delivery, not neighbors. One carried a briefcase, the other a tablet. She opened the door a crack. "Mrs. Alvarez?" the taller one asked. "Yes?" "I'm Mr. Cole. This is Mr. Riggins. We're with the law offices of Kent and Caldwell. May we speak with you for a moment?" Law offices. The words hit her stomach like a stone. "Is my husband okay?" she blurted.
The two men exchanged a glance, the kind that said, "There's more to the story than we can say here." "May we come in?" Mr. Cole asked gently. Maria hesitated, then stepped aside. They sat in the living room, papers neatly laid in front of them. Her hands trembled slightly as she folded them in her lap, bracing herself. "Mrs. Alvarez," Mr. Cole began, "I understand you signed a document yesterday at your husband's request." Her throat tightened. "Yes, but I wasn't told what it was." "That paper," he said slowly, "was an official consent form. It grants you legal acknowledgement as a beneficiary and partner in a financial transaction your husband executed last week." "What kind of transaction?" The men paused again. Too long, too carefully. Finally, Mr. Riggins slid a single page toward her. Maria scanned it. Her eyes widened, her pulse pounded, her breath stalled. $52 million? She whispered. The page clearly stated an asset transfer agreement involving $52 million linked to Daniel's name and hers. "We believe," Mr. Cole said, "your husband may not have fully disclosed the nature of these funds to you. That's why we're here. You need to understand what you've signed on to and what it means for your future." Future. The word suddenly felt heavier than ever. Maria clutched the paper, trying to steady her voice. "Where did this money come from?" The men exchanged that look again, the one that made Maria's skin crawl. "That," Mr. Cole said softly, "is the part we believe you're not going to like." Maria's heart dropped. What did Daniel do? But the answer wasn't coming from them. It was coming from someone else, someone already heading toward her house.
Maria's pulse hadn't settled from the lawyer's visit when another knock hit the door. Rapid, frantic, desperate. It startled all three of them. Mr. Cole and Mr. Riggins exchanged cautious glances, instantly alert. Maria approached the door with slow, measured steps. Something in her gut told her this wasn't a neighbor, a salesman, or a mistake. She opened the door. A woman stood there, maybe in her early 30s, with windswept hair, red-rimmed eyes, and trembling hands. She looked like someone who had been crying for hours or running from something she couldn't outrun. "Maria?" the woman asked breathlessly. "Yes?" The woman swallowed hard. I'm sorry to come like this, but I didn't know where else to go. I need to talk to you. It's about your husband." Maria's stomach nodded. "Who are you?" "My name is Leela, Daniel's coworker. Or, well, I guess that's not exactly the right word anymore." That last sentence sent a chill through Maria's bones. The lawyer subtly stepped closer, as if preparing for bad news. "Mrs. Alvarez, we were not expecting anyone else to be involved. May we ask what you know, Miss Leela?" Leela flinched at the attention. "I shouldn't even be here, but Daniel left the office yesterday in a panic. He said everything was going to come crashing down. He said someone would come after him. And then he told me—" She stopped, pressing her hand over her mouth as if replaying something painful. "He told me if anything happened, I should come to you." Maria blinked. "Why me?" Leela hesitated, then pulled a folded document from her purse. Her hand shook as she passed it to Maria. "I think because you're the only person he trusts." Maria unfolded the paper. It wasn't legal jargon this time. It was a letter, in Daniel's handwriting. "Maria, if you're reading this, I'm sorry. I never meant for any of this to touch you, but they're closing in, and I had no choice." Maria felt the world tilt for a moment. "What is this?" she whispered. Leela spoke softly. Daniel wasn't just handling finances at work. He discovered something
something everyone else wanted hidden. And the moment he tried to expose it, she took a shaky breath. They turned on him. Mr. Riggins' eyes narrowed. Who is they? Leela looked at the floor. The people tied to that money, the ones who've been moving millions through offshore accounts. Daniel was the one managing the reports, but he wasn't supposed to look too closely. Maria clutched Daniel's letter tighter. Where is he now? She shook her head slowly. I think, she whispered, he's running for his life.
For several seconds, Maria felt nothing but silence echoing in her chest. Thick, cold, and suffocating. Daniel? Running for his life? None of it made sense. Daniel was gentle, predictable, a creature of routine. He made grocery lists on his phone and color-coded his sock drawer. He wasn't the type of man who got mixed up in dangerous things. But the fear in Leela's voice wasn't something you could fake. Maria steadied herself. There has to be more. Daniel wouldn't just disappear without leaving answers. Leela hesitated. There is more. He asked me to give you something, but only if things got bad. How bad? Mr. Cole asked sharply. Leela looked up, eyes wet. Yesterday, before he ran out of the office, he said, if they find me, I'm done. And then he shoved this into my hands. She reached into her purse again, this time pulling out a small, sealed envelope with Maria's name written on it. Not typed, handwritten in Daniel's familiar slanted script. Maria's fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a note and a combination of numbers. Basement safe. You'll find everything you need there. Whatever happens, protect yourself. D. Maria's heart skipped. The basement safe? The one Daniel had installed years ago for old documents? The one he always brushed off whenever she asked what was inside. She had never imagined it hid anything more than old tax forms. But the fear in Leela's voice wasn't something you could fake. Maria steadied herself. There has to be more. Daniel wouldn't just disappear without leaving answers. Leela hesitated. There is more. He asked me to give you something, but only if things got bad. How bad? Mr. Cole asked sharply. Leela looked up, eyes wet. Yesterday, before he ran out of the office, he said, if they find me, I'm done. And then he shoved this into my hands. She reached into her purse again, this time pulling out a small, sealed envelope with Maria's name written on it. Not typed, handwritten in Daniel's familiar slanted script. Maria's fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a note and a combination of numbers. Basement safe. You'll find everything you need there. Whatever happens, protect yourself. D. Maria's heart skipped. The basement safe? The one Daniel had installed years ago for old documents? The one he always brushed off whenever she asked what was inside. She had never imagined it hid anything more than old tax forms. But the fear in Leela's voice wasn't something you could fake. Maria steadied herself. There has to be more. Daniel wouldn't just disappear without leaving answers. Leela hesitated. There is more. He asked me to give you something, but only if things got bad. How bad? Mr. Cole asked sharply. Leela looked up, eyes wet. Yesterday, before he ran out of the office, he said, if they find me, I'm done. And then he shoved this into my hands. She reached into her purse again, this time pulling out a small, sealed envelope with Maria's name written on it. Not typed, handwritten in Daniel's familiar slanted script. Maria's fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a note and a combination of numbers. Basement safe. You'll find everything you need there. Whatever happens, protect yourself. D. Maria's heart skipped. The basement safe? The one Daniel had installed years ago for old documents? The one he always brushed off whenever she asked what was inside?
She had never imagined it hid anything more than old tax forms. Maria gasped. Why would he take off his ring? Mr. Cole carefully lifted the red folder and flipped it open, his face drained of color. These, he whispered, scanning the documents, are financial records, illegal transfers, shell companies, offshore routing, and your husband documented all of it. Leela covered her mouth. He was trying to expose them. Maria stared at the ring, her vision blurring. Daniel hadn't betrayed her. He'd been trying to protect her. But from who? Mr. Riggins lifted one page, eyes narrowing. Mrs. Alvarez? These signatures, these approvals, they all lead back to one person. Maria looked up. Who? She whispered. He turned the document so she could see. The CEO of Daniel's company.
Maria stared at the name on the document, her breath catching in her throat. Evan Mercer, CEO of Danvers Financial Group. Daniel's boss, the man he had spoken of with respect for years. Maria shook her head. This can't be right. Daniel admired him. He always said Mercer was the reason the company grew. Mr. Cole closed the folder gently. People can build empires without building integrity, Mrs. Alvarez. Lila stepped forward, voice hushed. Daniel found out Mercer was moving money through fake charities and international contracts. At first, he thought it was an accounting glitch, but the deeper he dug, the more dangerous it became. Maria's heartbeat quickened. Dangerous how? Mercer doesn't just hide money, Lila said, eyes darting nervously. He hides people. Anyone who questions him, they're either fired, paid off, or they just disappear. Maria felt her stomach turn cold. Mr. Riggins spoke next. And Daniel gathering this evidence, these records, emails, hard drives, it means he stumbled onto enough information to put Mercer away for the rest of his life. And enough incentive, Mr. Cole added grimly, for Mercer to make sure Daniel never talks. Maria's breath trembled. So Daniel, is he in danger? Real danger? Lila nodded. He knew too much. That's why he tried to expose Mercer anonymously. But Mercer has eyes everywhere. The moment Daniel made a move, Mercer's team caught on. Maria clutched Daniel's ring box. But why drag me into this? Why make me sign that paper? Mr. Cole took a long breath. Because, Mrs. Alvarez, Daniel transferred the money, all $52 million, into a protected trust with your name on it. I don't want the money. I want my husband. The trust isn't about wealth, Mr. Riggins said gently. It's leverage. If anything happens to Daniel, evidence gets released automatically. The trust triggers the disclosure. He tapped the red folder. These files go public. Maria's eyes widened. So Daniel put the money under my name to protect himself? And to protect you, Mr. Cole said. He knew Mercer wouldn't risk hurting the legal beneficiary of funds tied to his own crimes. Lila stepped closer, voice unsteady. He told me, if I can't stop Mercer, at least Maria will survive him. Maria swallowed hard, her chest aching. She had spent all night thinking Daniel had betrayed her. But instead, he had been preparing to sacrifice everything for her, even his life. Mr. Riggins' phone buzzed. He glanced down and his posture stiffened. Mrs. Alvarez, he said quietly, I think you need to hear this. One of our investigators just sent a message. Maria braced herself. What is it? He looked up, face tight. They found Daniel's car. Maria's heart dropped. Where? Lila whispered. Mr. Riggins took a breath. Abandoned, near the edge of Redwood Quarry.
Maria felt her knees weaken. Redwood Quarry wasn't just some abandoned site. It was miles of rocky cliffs, old mining tunnels, and drop-off that made it a place locals avoided after dark. Nothing good ever happened there. She swallowed hard. Was Daniel in the car? Mr. Riggins shook his head. No, it was empty. A breath of relief escaped Maria, but it was thin, fragile. Empty could mean many things, some good, many bad. Lila wrapped her arms around herself. Why would he go there? That place is dangerous. Mr. Cole's voice was low. That's exactly why someone might abandon a car there. It could be meant to send a message. Maria gripped the edge of the table, forcing her thoughts to steady. I need to see it. Now. Mrs. Alvarez, Mr. Cole began gently. No, I'm not sitting here while my husband might be out there needing help. Take me to the car. The lawyers exchanged a look, not resistance but concern, then nodded. Within minutes, they were in 2 cars heading toward Redwood Quarry. Maria sat in the back seat of Mr. Cole's sedan, staring out the window as the world blurred past. Lila rode with Mr. Riggins behind them. The drive felt longer than it was. Every twist in the road gnawed at her mind. Every dark turn felt like a warning. When the road finally opened into the gravel lot near the quarry entrance, Maria felt her breath freeze. There it was. Daniel's silver sedan, parked crookedly as if abandoned in a hurry. The driver's door was cracked open and the trunk was ajar. Maria rushed forward before anyone could stop her. "Daniel?" she called into the wind, her voice echoing across the rocky walls. No answer. She leaned into the car. The engine was cold, the driver's seat pushed back, not how Daniel usually kept it. A faint pine air freshener swung gently from the mirror, the only movement in the stillness. "Maria," Mr. Cole said softly, "don't touch anything yet." But Maria's eyes were already locked on something on the passenger seat. A single item, Daniel's watch, the one she gave him for their 10th anniversary, the one he never took off. Her breath trembled. Why would he leave this? Lila stepped closer, voice trembling. He wouldn't. Not willingly. Mr. Riggins, examining the trunk, called out, "There's something here." Maria hurried over. Inside the trunk were muddy boot prints, a torn piece of fabric, and, chillingly, scrape marks on the gravel behind the car leading toward one of the narrow pathways that disappeared between the quarry cliffs. Mr. Cole crouched down, studying them. Someone was here recently. Maria's pulse pounded in her ears. Daniel had been here, but he hadn't left on his own. As Mr. Cole stood, he received another vibrating buzz on his phone. He read it, his expression tightening. "Maria, this just got worse." "What now?" He looked up slowly. A witness just reported seeing 3 men dragging someone toward the quarry tunnels last night.
Maria felt the world tilt. "Dragged?" she whispered, her voice barely holding together. "Are you saying Daniel was taken?" Mr. Cole raised his hands gently. "We don't know for sure, Mrs. Alvarez. The witness only reported shapes, movement, and voices. It was dark. But the timing matches," Lila murmured. "Last night, that's when Daniel stopped answering." Maria's breath stuttered. "Then what are we standing here for? We need to go inside those tunnels." Mr. Riggins stepped forward, calm but firm. "Maria, rushing in blindly could be dangerous. If men working for Mercer are inside," she cut him off. "I don't care. That's my husband." Silence. Not disagreement. Just the realization that nothing anyone said would stop her. Mr. Cole sighed, defeated but compassionate. "We go together. No one goes in alone." They grabbed small flashlights from the cars. Nothing powerful, but enough to cut through the darkness, and approached the narrow stone path leading to the quarry tunnels. Each step felt heavier, each breath tighter. The air grew colder the closer they came to the entrance. The mouth of the tunnel yawned in front of them, wide enough for 2 people, but dark enough that it felt like stepping into another world. Maria hesitated at the threshold, gripping her flashlight so tightly her knuckles ached. Lila whispered, "He has to be in there, Maria." Maria nodded once, swallowed, and stepped inside. The tunnel swallowed their footsteps. Their flashlights illuminated jagged walls, rusted support beams, and old mining rails embedded in the floor. Every few seconds, a drop of water fell somewhere far away, echoing like a lonely heartbeat. "Stay alert," Mr. Riggins instructed quietly. "These tunnels branch off in multiple directions. If someone wanted to hide something, or someone, this would be the place." Maria swept her light across the ground. Then she froze. "Wait, look!"
Near the wall was a scuff mark, faint but unmistakable. A shoe tread, fresh. That's Daniel's size. I know his shoes. Mr. Cole crouched. This was recent, maybe only a few hours ago. A spark of hope flickered inside her, but hope quickly twisted into fear when the beam of Lila's flashlight caught something else. A set of footprints leading deeper in. Not just Daniel's, bigger, heavier, several pairs. Mr. Riggins stiffened. Someone walked him in. Maria's throat tightened. Then we follow. They continued deeper. The tunnel forked into two paths, one dropping downward and one sloping up. Maria noticed something on the ground, a small torn scrap of paper. She picked it up. It was from the edge of a notepad. Her notepad, the one she kept in the kitchen. Written in Daniel's handwriting were 3 shaky words, "I'm still here." Maria's breath caught. He was alive, and he was leaving her a trail. "We're close," she whispered, but as they turned the corner, a noise echoed through the tunnel, a low, distant clank, and voices, men's voices, getting closer.
The moment Maria heard the voices, every muscle in her body went rigid. They weren't echoes. They weren't imagined. They were real and close. Mr. Cole quickly motioned for everyone to switch off their flashlights. The tunnel instantly plunged into darkness, thick as velvet. Even the air felt heavier. Maria's heartbeat thudded in her ears. She strained to listen. A muffled voice drifted down the passageway. "Check the other section." Another one answered, deeper and firmer. "Don't leave anything behind." Leela leaned toward Maria, whispering so quietly it was almost breath. "Those aren't hikers." Mr. Riggins edged closer to the wall, calm but alert. "We need to stay hidden and figure out their direction." Maria's hands trembled in the dark, but she steadied herself. She wasn't leaving. Not now. Not when Daniel was somewhere ahead, counting on her. Mr. Cole whispered, "Everyone move quietly. Stay close to the wall. Slow steps." They inched forward, barely breathing, guided only by the distant glow from the men's flashlights bouncing off the rough stone. Maria pressed her shoulder to the cold wall, moving one cautious step at a time. As they reached a wider chamber in the tunnel, Maria stopped abruptly. Something glimmered faintly on the ground. She knelt, carefully touching the object. It was small, metallic, familiar. A cufflink! Daniel's cufflink! She nearly gasped. "He's close," she mouthed to the others. Mr. Riggins nodded, his eyes scanning the different tunnel branches. He may have been brought through here, or he left this as a signal. Before they could move again, the men's voices grew sharper. "Hey, did you hear something?" one asked. Maria's breath froze. The second voice replied, "Probably the water dripping again. Let's just finish this and get out." Their footsteps shifted direction, toward the left tunnel. Maria clutched Daniel's cufflink to her chest. "We should take the opposite path. If they went left, Daniel could be in the right tunnel." But Mr. Cole shook his head. "Think logically. If they're guarding the left tunnel, that may be where they kept him." Leela looked torn. "But if Daniel dropped this here on purpose, maybe he wanted us to avoid wherever they took him." The group fell silent. 2 paths, 2 possibilities. One wrong move could mean missing Daniel entirely. Suddenly, faintly, from the right tunnel, a soft tapping sound echoed. Slow, deliberate, almost like someone knocking against a pipe. Knock, knock, pause. A pattern, not random. A signal. Maria's eyes widened with recognition. "That's Daniel. He used to tap like that on our kitchen counter whenever he was nervous." Mr. Riggins whispered, "Then we follow that sound. Quietly." They slipped into the right tunnel, moving carefully, the tapping getting louder, closer, more desperate. And then, just as the sound grew clear enough to identify, it stopped. Abruptly, Maria's heart strained in the silence. Something, or someone, had interrupted him. The sudden silence hit Maria like a punch to the chest.
One second, Daniel's tapping was guiding them. The next, nothing. "Keep moving," Mr. Riggins whispered. "But stay alert." The tunnel sloped downward, the air growing cooler and more stale. Their footsteps were soft but quick, urgency pushing them forward. Maria held her breath, listening for any sign of Daniel, a tap, a cough, a shift, but the darkness swallowed every sound. After another 30 yards, the passage widened into a lower chamber, reinforced with old wooden beams. Water trickled from the ceiling, forming small puddles that reflected the faint glow of their flashlights. Maria scanned the room anxiously. "Daniel?" she called softly. No response. But then Leela gasped. "Look!" On the dusty dirt was a trail of disturbed dirt, as if someone had been moved or dragged. But more importantly, beside the trail lay something small and black. Daniel's phone. Maria rushed and picked it up. The screen was cracked, but when she pressed the side button, it flickered with a dim glow and a single message notification. Her breath tightened. As she opened it, "Maria, if you find this, I'm okay. I'm buying time. Follow the sound. D." Her eyes stung. "He's alive!" "And trying to help," Mr. Cole said softly. But the tapping had stopped. How could they follow it now? Mr. Riggins knelt near the wooden beams, running his hand along them. "There's airflow here. Feel it?" Maria stepped closer. He was right. A thin, cold draft pushed through a narrow gap between the beams and the stone wall. Leela pointed. "Is that another passage?" Mr. Cole examined the gap. "Looks like an access shaft from the old mining days. Some of these lead deeper underground." Maria didn't hesitate. "If Daniel found it, or if he was taken through it, we need to go." The lawyers exchanged a look, a familiar mix of concern and unwilling respect. They knew Maria wasn't stepping back. Mr. Riggins pulled on one of the beams. "Help me with this." Together, they pried loose one of the rotten supports. The beam cracked, giving just enough room for a person to slip through sideways. Maria went first. The shaft beyond was narrow, barely wide enough to stand comfortably. Her flashlight beam stretched into the darkness, revealing the faint outline of a ladder leading down. She felt her heart pound. "He went this way." "I know he did." Leela's voice trembled. "Be careful." One step at a time, Maria descended the old metal ladder. The air grew colder, the space tighter, but she kept her eyes fixed downward, following the narrow shaft. Finally, her feet touched solid ground. She swung her light around. There, at the far end of the chamber below, was a door, rusty, metal, slightly open. Inside came a faint shuffle. Maria's breath caught. "Daniel?" she whispered. The shuffle stopped. Then a voice, weak but unmistakably his, answered. "Maria?" Her heart nearly burst. But before she could take a step toward the door, heavy footsteps echoed above them. Someone else had entered the tunnels.
Maria froze at the echo of footsteps above. They were heavy, fast, headed straight toward the ladder she had climbed down just moments ago. Mr. Cole's whisper floated down the shaft. "Maria, we've got company. Stay hidden." But Maria couldn't look away from the door where Daniel's voice had come from. She pushed the door open. The small chamber inside was dim, illuminated by a single hanging bulb. And there, sitting against the wall, exhausted, bruised, but very much alive, was Daniel. His eyes widened the moment he saw her. "Maria!" She rushed to him, tears breaking free as she knelt beside him. "Daniel, I thought I lost you." He reached for her hand, his fingers shaking but warm. "I'm sorry. I never wanted you caught in this." "You didn't. You protected me. Now let me protect you." Before he could answer, voices echoed from the shaft, louder this time. Lila climbed down first, followed by the lawyers, breathless but relieved. "Daniel, we need to move. Mercer's men are in the tunnels." Daniel nodded, struggling to stand. Maria supported him, her arm firmly around his waist. "Is there another exit?" Mr. Riggins asked. Daniel pointed to a narrow corridor behind the chamber. "Old ventilation path. I hid here last night.
I think it leads to the far side of the quarry. They moved quickly through the corridor, the light of their flashlights cutting through the shadows. Footsteps behind them grew fainter. Mercer's men had lost the trail in the maze of tunnels. Minutes later, a faint glow appeared ahead. Daylight. Maria pushed forward, helping Daniel until they stepped out into a hidden ravine at the far edge of the quarry. Wind brushed their faces. The sky stretched wide and blue above them. They were safe. Daniel sank onto a rock, catching his breath. Maria stayed beside him, her hand never leaving his. Mr. Cole spoke quietly. Daniel, we have everything we need. The evidence, the documents, your testimony. Mercer won't be able to hide after this. For the first time in days, Daniel exhaled in relief. Then it's over. Maria shook her head gently. No, it's beginning. Daniel looked at her, confused. She smiled, tired, emotional, but real. Our life, the one where we don't hide, where we don't live in fear, where we start again. Lila nodded through a teary smile. You two deserve that. Mr. Riggins added, and with the trust protected, the funds can finally be used for what Daniel intended, rebuilding, not surviving. Daniel squeezed Maria's hand. Everything I did because of you. Maria leaned her head on his shoulder. And now we move forward, together. Above them, sunlight broke through the clouds, warming the ravine in a soft golden glow. The darkness was behind them. Their future, unexpectedly, unbelievably, was brighter than ever. A new beginning, a second chance, and this time, nothing would tear them apart.